Hello guys, it's Ahmed El-Hofy, and today we're going to talk about the new plastic deformation in R14. And plastic deformation is a new addition to the soft body dynamics in Cinema 4D, and it's actually enables you to deform an object and keep its new state. And this was a video published by Maxon when it firstly announced R14, and I thought it was really interesting to recreate something like this video. So I actually tried to do this and I got this. So we will recreate this video in this tutorial, but firstly let's know the basics of plastic deformation. So let's jump into Cinema 4D. So as I said, the plastic deformation was in addition to the soft body dynamics. So we will add here a sphere, a cube, and a floor, and we'll add to the cube and a floor a collider body tag, and we'll add a soft body to the sphere. In older version of R14, and actually when there is no plastic deformation, this is what happens. You get a sphere, you deform it, and it goes back to its original position. But how can I keep its new state? Well, it is really easy now in R14. So what you need to do is going here, you have in the shape conversation tab, you have a stiffness and the elastic limit. All you need to do is reverse these values. So the stiffness is high and the elastic limit is low. Now you should get what you need. You will keep the state of the sphere. And what I think of the elastic limit, I think that the elastic limit is a force needed by an object to deform the object which has the soft body dynamics. And when you get higher and higher, it's really hard to deform the object. As you can see, I need to hit it really fast to get it to deform. So if I just go on and move this cube really slowly, the ball will go on and bonus back to its original position or original state. So these are the basics of the plastic deformation. So now let's go on and build this seam. So I'll begin with building this pass where it moves the piece of suite. So this was actually a cloner object and a rectangular spline. So first I added a rectangular spline, changed its basic settings. Maybe the width is 3000. Added rounding, then added a cloner object and a cube, and changed the mode of the cloner to object, and added this rectangle as in the object tab here, and set the distribution to even, and begin to change the count. But firstly we need to adjust the basic settings of the cube. So let's set the size X to maybe 15 or 20, and set the size Z to 100 or maybe 80, and set the size Y to 500, and maybe set this to 100. Yeah, 100 is good. And let's add a small fillet of a value of 2, and then raise the count. So we need more count, maybe 60 is good. Yeah. So what can we do now to actually make this offset, to make this pass move? All we need to do is animating this offset value. It's very easy to animate it, just 2 keyframes and you have a moving pass. So we are finished with this pass. Let's go on and build this piece of suite. So we need a cylinder and a sphere. For the sphere we'll leave it as it is, and for the cylinder we just need to change orientation and radius, height. Let's go on, see how's the height. Yeah, we need very big height. Let's try 1000, and for radius we need 125, and let's turn off the caps. So let's see what's going on inside. Yeah, it's good. For the sphere we need to rotate it this way, make it editable, and scale it on the y-axis. So we get this shape, nearly scale it until it fits this pass. Now you get this shape. Now let's add some height segments to the cylinder to get better deformations, and let's set rotation segments to 24. Now we are done with this piece of suite, so let's get it into a cloner object and put it right here. Now our final thing to build is this piece of cubes which go on and close on the cover of the suite and then rotates. So I actually did this with a basic Espresso setup. So let's go on and build it. So first we need to add a cube, change its size, maybe something like this is good, 600 or maybe 700 by 700, and set the size Y to maybe 30. Then put it right here. Now we actually need this to be at the center of the cylinder, so when we add a copy up and down and they close at the center, so we didn't get kindly they close here. We need them to close at the center of the suite. So what I will do here is I will drop the cube under the cylinder, then reset the position of the y-axis, so it's now in the center of the cylinder. So we can now go on and add, for example, positive 500, and go on and add another copy and negative 1000. So when now they close together, if I for example scale them on the y-axis, they will finally go on and stop at the center here. So now let's build the Espresso setup. First we need a null object to put on the Espresso tab as Espresso tag. Then I will add very basic to user data from user data menu, manage user data, then add two data here, leave them as they are, just to change this to rotation and the other one to position. Now press OK. So now we get a new tab which has the to position and rotation user data. Now let's go on and drag and drop this Espresso object into the Espresso editor, and from this red square, this represents the export or the output. So we will output the value of the position and rotation. Then I want when the position at 0%, the cubes will be at this position, and if they go to 100, the cubes will close on the cover of the suite. So I will go on and put this in a group object, and be sure that the axis is centered on the cylinder right here. Now after that we can go on and add the two cubes, this one and this one, and we need to range or to map these values to the position Y of the cubes. So if we go on and for example add this here, all we have here is a value which actually goes from 0 to 1. It only moves 1 centimeter. So what I want to do here is map these values. So we can go to new node, right click, new node, Espresso, calculate, and add a range mapper. Go on and add it here. And we have here it's the input lower and upper is 0, 1, which is this position parameter, and 0 is 1 is perfect. But the output lower and upper is 0 to 1, and we don't know that. We want that if it is at 0%, the cube is at this position, so it's 500. And if it goes to the 100%, we need the output upper to 0. And let's add this to this cube. And for the other cube, it's actually on the negative direction of the y-axis, so we can go on and just put this in negative direction and put it in the other cube. Now we get a perfect animation here, so we can actually go on just animate the slider, but we want to have a bit of offset at 100%. We don't want them to completely close on the piece of suite. This will freak out the soft body system. So we need to make maybe here a 20 and a negative 20, so we have 40 centimeter offset, and this is still a very small size, so maybe negative 30 and 30. So I think this is good. Negative and 30. So we have a bit of offset now. Now we need to actually go on and create this rotational slider. So I want the rotational slider to rotate this 180 degrees on the B. So we can go on quickly, add a range mapper, which will range map this rotation from 0 to 1, and it will output a degree. Be sure to change this to degree, and now we can set this to 0 to 180, and go on and add this null. So now we have rigged one side of the machine. Now we can actually go on and you see how it works. Now we need to copy this one, this null, into the other side of the base, maybe right here, and we go on and re-add this to the Espresso editor. So we have here the cube, so we cube.1, we will copy it and assign it to the new cube.1 and put it in the position Y. And we have here the other cube, copy, Control C and Control V, and add this cube. Now we finally need to add our null, but be sure that if you watch this video carefully, you actually see that these cubes rotate in the opposite direction. Each one rotates in the opposite direction to the other. So we will create a new range mapper which will go on actually and rotate it in the negative direction. So we get a variation now, and add the null to rotation B. Just connect it here. Now if you change these values, you get perfect closing cubes. Yeah, that's what we need. That's actually what we need here. Now let's go on and animate the path and adjust the soft body settings of the cylinder. So firstly we'll go on here and animate the path, or let's try to add here rigid body text and add here a collider body. And I am sure that when I click play, this sphere will explode away from the cylinder. Yeah, so what we need to do is going to the cylinder and set the collision to moving mesh. Now this should fix our problem, but this will create a new problem with the cloner collision. So to fix this, we need to change the individual element to all. Now this should fix our problem. So what I want to do now is animate the path. So we will try to animate it until this piece of suite go on here. So we will create a key at 0, and at 90 we will set this to maybe 10. Let's try. And actually the path is moving in the opposite direction, so we need to inverse this key value to -10. Let's try. Let's extend the keyframes of our project so we get more time. And actually, to get better moving cylinder, we can change the friction to, for example, 2000. Now this should move a bit better. And let's extend this to, it was at keyframe, it was at 90 frame, so we set this to 180 and set the value to -20. Let's try. Now it's moving. When will this stop? It will stop. Yeah, it stopped a bit early, so let's add, for example, a +45, and here let's add another 5. And let's see what's going on here. Oh, let's add more frames. And it stopped a bit early, so let's add a 22.22 frame, and here let's add 2.5. So you are fasting the we are actually extending the time where this best move. And yeah, it stopped right. So now we are stopping in the center of these cubes, so we can, let's see when this will stop, so we can animate these cubes. Now actually it's going to stop at frame nearly 250, so we can go on at 280 and animate these cubes. So let's go on to the Espresso and add a key at 280. At maybe 310 we can set the position to 100%. Then we take a rest for 10 frames and create animation for the rotation. Then take a rest for 10 frames and now go on again and animate the position to 0. So that is it. Now all we need to do is adding collider body tags to the cubes. Now let's play and see what's happened. So here's the cylinder moving, and it will nearly stop about a 2 second earlier. Now it stopped and the cubes is getting, and whoop, I forgot to add soft body tag to this cylinder. So actually we need to add we need to enable the soft body on the cylinder, so we just select made of polygons and lines, and now let's set, as I said, let's inverse these values. So we need high stiffness, low elastic limit, and for faster preview I will go on and bake animation. So we go on to bake and click bake. So baking is nearly finished now, and let's go on and see what's happened. Yeah, I'm not sure why actually the cylinder didn't stop at the right position. Strange. So let's clear cache. Let's go on and clear set cache. Let's try our animation again. And it should stop. Well, actually it's stopping a bit late, so let's let's decrease these values. Let's try. No, we need to +5 here, so it should be -25, and it should stop in the center. So I think we just messed up with the timeline, so it was not at 0 frame here. Still actually stopping a bit far. So to make it a bit easier, let's just move these cubes at the place where it will stop. Now it closes on, rotates, and yeah, it's nearly good. Yeah, so here's the result we wanted. Actually we need to refine this result, but for the sake of the tutorial we just leave it here and give you the ability to change this value. So this depends on changing the stiffness and the elastic limit. We can just try here, and for example let's just extend the keyframes and let's decrease the stiffness to 50, and let's bake again. Boom. So baking is finished, and let's see what's happening. So actually I've changed the stiffness a bit and it got worse. So let's get back the stiffness to 100, and to get better result we can actually go on and add more height segments. Maybe 50 height segments will give us better result. So let's go on now and recache our animation. So baking now is finished, and we can see what's happened. So it took actually a lot more time, and as you can see it took more memory. Before adding more segments it was 3.5, now it's 6, just because we added more height segments. So as you see, height segments actually a lot refines animation and it gives us a better result. And I think we have just gone to the end of the tutorial. So I hope you guys found this tutorial useful, and see ya.